Hi everyone. I wanted to make a quick guide for the challenge tower. Um, since the tower is on a 3-day uptime, I wanted to make this before I finished it. I'm going to show you my 2% wipe, and by the time you watch this, I should be done with the tower. I just wanted to get this out there so people can see it. They can hopefully get some ideas on how to beat this before the tower is destroyed. So let's start with talents. Now, the challenge tower has been defeated with several different talent setups, so I'm just going to show you what I use, what I found to work better for myself. So for the Road 99, I'm using the Abyssal Strike because the extra leaps are very useful, especially in Phase 2, trying to get out of the fire puddle on the ground. The Nether Stomp. I use Fallout, and that is because of the trait here of erupting souls. So basically you spawn a lot of fragments, and then when you soul cleave, you cleave all of the adds for the 65,000 damage per fragment. So if you can spawn more fragments when you're taking the arcane adds, then you can do more damage and they die quicker. So Fallout is huge here. I'm using Flame Crash just for the sigil of flame, more damage, more AoE. Combined with Abyssal Strike, it's a lot of uptime. I'm running Fracture. I'm trying to decide if I should switch this, but right now I am fracturing quite a bit, so I don't want to drop it. I know people have used Soul Rending. I'm using Quickened Sigils. I know some people use concentrated sigils. I was using this last rotation, but I like the quicker activation time. It makes it easier to time your sigils when you're killing the AoE adds. Fell Devastation for the damage. And Last Resort, I don't want to say it's mandatory because people have beat it with Soul Barrier, but Last Resort is, I would say, 80% mandatory for Phase 2. That way you can just eat like the 4th Annihilation without popping anything. You just eat it and just keep DPSing. Gear wise, now again, a lot of people have used different gear to beat this. What I'm using right now is Kil'jaeden's Burning Wish for the damage and the AoE. I'm using the bracers. The reason why is I'm soul cleaving so much, I can get the Sigil of Silence off cooldown much quicker, and it's like a little safety net to make sure I don't screw up with the adds. Other legendary combinations that people use, a really good one is the boots and the gloves together. Now this greatly increases your single target damage. And honestly, this is a DPS race. This is not a tanking challenge. I'll give my thoughts after the video if anybody's interested, but this is a DPS race, and this combination greatly increases your single target damage. Safus is really good because of all the interrupts you're doing. The waste is okay, especially for killing the adds, but outside of that, it's kind of wasted. Pridus just for survivability, but again, if you're gonna die, it's probably because you got one shot, knocked off a cliff, or you didn't interrupt something. It's all about mechanics. Like this is not a survivability challenge. And also, Archimonde is a really good trinket. So depending on what you have. Consumables, I use Agility Flask. I've been using Versatility Food. And I was using Old Wars, but I noticed that I'm only getting like 1.4 million damage out of them. Whereas if I use Prolonged Power, I have a full minute of increased stats, which should equate to be more than 1.5, 1.6 million damage. A couple other essentials. I made a arcane or a Sigil of Silence macro to drop it at my feet. This is just easier when I'm moving because you should be constantly like just backpedaling. That way you don't get knocked back as much. So I just made a little macro here. I'll put it in the comment. So I just cast the Sigil of Silence at my feet. It's just much more fluent when I'm interrupting the adds. I made a Imprison macro for the Inquisitor. Basically, I try to imprison him as much as I can when I'm not hitting him. That's just less damage I'm taking at all time. think that's it for macros. I know other people make a macro for silence your interrupt to the consume magic. I have not done that. I don't need it, but if you need it, then yeah, use it. Alright, well, I think that's it. Let's go ahead and take a look at the footage. Alright, so here we go. Also using Old Wars on this pull, but I switched since then to Prolong Power. Make sure you don't forget your food buff. So on the pull, I like to pot, well, pre-pot, and then you want to open up with your Fiery Brand, and then just maximize your damage with the Fiery Demise window. So this is like most pulls. You do not interrupt the Mind Rend at all, ever. So you should be using Empowered Wards, which I was kind of lazy about this attempt. Make sure you interrupt to Drain Life. So right there, I just cast my Imprison with the Imprison macro, just because the whole idea is at this point I have 5 stacks of the debuff. So my HP is dropped by 2 million. So the less damage I'm taking at this point, better off I am. So I use the Imprison macro all the time, and you should as well, just to minimize the damage intake. And then Sigil of Misery as well. So here's your Arcane Ads, you need to pick them up. They cast the Nether Storm that has to be interrupted. Now the key is once they start the cast is when you should interrupt it. So they just started the actual cast. Well, the damage portion of the cast, and now my Sigil of Silence is exploding, which will keep them on lockdown for probably like 20-ish seconds. Now, if you interrupt it during the wind-up time, they're just going to cast it right away, probably about 4 or 5 seconds later. Most of the time I interrupt early because my AoE damage is really high and I just don't want to mess up the interrupt, and they die anyways. But best practice is you interrupt them right now as you're casting, or as they finish their cast, and it's just easier. Now the eye is channeling your beam here. Now you need to look at the eye, otherwise you get knocked back. You can tell if you're actually looking at it by the well, tether, I guess, between you and the eye. If it's solid like this, where there's no bumps, it means you will not be knocked back. However, if it has squiggly lines all the way across it, you will get knocked back. Now, they're kind of buggy. There's been times where I've been knocked back while being in melee range, looking at the eye. Now, what I figured out is if, say, like it's a solid line, a solid tether, and you turn slightly to the right or left, and you're still looking at it, it picks up that you turned, and the line automatically goes back to a knockback. And then it takes another second or so to re-register that you're still looking at it, and then it fixes itself. Now, if you turn at the end of this channel, even though you're looking at it and it saw that you turned, you're going to get knocked back. It's buggy. It's really frustrating. When you cast Sigil of Silence, by the way, if you're too close to the boss, it will hit him, which is bad because you don't want him silenced because he's going to chase you and give you the stacking debuff. And the debuff, by the way, I didn't go over it, is a 5% max HP for every stack you have, so you cannot stay in there very long. So make sure you keep interrupting that. And kill the eyes. Now, when the eyes die, you get this other 15 or 20% bonus damage to demons because of us being a demon hunter and you killed a demon. So make sure you kill them. After the initial go, I jump out at the 3-second stack mark. You can go higher, and if you're able to pull it off, that means you do more damage and you transition faster, which is better. The Infernals, you can see right there, is a little telegraph for a knockback. When there's a lot of stuff going on, which is at the end of Phase 1 and in Phase 2, that is extremely difficult to see. The lower HP, the smaller they are, the shorter the knockback. So what you want to do is pick up the Infernals off of Velen and just cut them into the HP nerf. So pick up the ads, always bring them over towards Velen. Not Velen, sorry, the Inquisitor. That way when you cleave, it hits the Inquisitor. That was really dangerous for me to do that. So yeah, keep jumping in as much as you can. Do as much damage as you can. Get about 3 or 4 stacks and get out. Then kill any eyes. Clean up anything you need to clean up. And then keep using Imprison to keep them imprisoned. Now the cooldown or the CC time of Imprison is the PvP duration. That's why it doesn't last very long. Yeah, Inferno. Alright, so this orb will heal you and Velen to full HP and disorient everything. Now, one thing I found out is you don't want to use it if the arcane ads just spawn, because they're going to get disoriented at their portals. And then once the disorientation wears off, they're going to start casting their AoE out there, so that by the time they get you, it's already going off and it's going to kill you. So most of the time, you only want to use the orbs is when the ads are already on you, or if you have no choice, you need to get a heal. Now, phase 2 is much easier if you have more orbs alive. So you want to try to do this so you don't need the orbs. The fact I just took that orb may have cost me a kill on this 2% wipe. So yeah, drain life. As you see here, I'm trying to look at the eyeball that's channeling on me as I'm DPSing. The ads are down. I have too many stacks, so I go try to clean up any eyes that are still alive. Get the imprison off, take less damage, pick up all the ads, bring them to Villain, Inquisitor. I wish I could kill Velen sometimes. And see how I'm casting Fell Devastation so it hits the boss as well. That's key. You'll want to do that. Honestly, this is not the cleanest phase 1 I've done. I've gotten much better since this, but this should give you an idea of how to handle it if you're struggling with this. I should have used my Soul Carver on him when I was in there. I missed that. If you're a Blood Elf, Arcane Torrent should be your backup if you mess up. So yeah, so you keep doing this, keep getting them lower. Keep interrupts going. Glide. If you get knocked back, make sure you glide right away. It's almost impossible to be knocked off as a Demon Hunter, but it's not impossible. So make sure you're gliding. The Arcane ads almost always go to you in phase 1, but there are times where they will go to Velen instead. If they go to Velen, he's going to die if you don't get him off him ASAP. So just keep an eye out as they spawn. Try to hit him once with a glaive. Try to keep as many eyes dead as possible. Otherwise, it gets really annoying. Bring the ads to him. Cleave off of him. I don't really use Sigil of Misery often because I'm using the bracers and I want to make sure every time I soul cleave, Sigil of Silence is being reduced in time and not Sigil of Misery. So I try not to use it. I use it if I have to. If you don't use the bracers, it's a good. You'd use Sigil of Misery as the interrupt and the ad. So you would alternate Sigil of Silence for one arcane ad, then Sigil of Misery for a second arcane ad. Now here, I shouldn't have done this. I pushed him as the ads were spawning. It is better to wait for the ads, kill the ads, and then push them. My issue was I had too many infernals up, so I wanted to push them before it gets worse than what it already is. So during this transition, Cruel will reset on you, will bug out and evade. And I found that if I'm in a double jump as he lands, it doesn't register of me being on the platform and he despawns. And every time I've made sure I've been on the ground, he's never once despawned. So I don't know if that's the trigger, but that's what I found from my experience. So when he comes down, make sure you're on the ground and you're not double jumping. So during this phase, what we have to deal with is right there. Is we still have the arcane ads, so we still have to make sure we interrupt the arcane ads, or we will die. And now the arcane ads will always target Velen when they spawn in phase 2. They never come on you, so you have to pick them up. All the infernals from phase 1 are still here. Since they can't ever die, they just respawn after they go in a temporary death. You have all of those to deal with. The eyeballs are now gone, but now you also have to deal with Cruel himself on top of those two ads and these beams. Now these beams, all they do is they just push you back. They don't kill you, they just push you back. Another knockback. So there's 3 knockbacks in this entire challenge mode. Now Cruel himself has 3 mechanics you have to watch out for. So we'll look at one here in a second. Alright, right here he's casting Annihilate. Now this is what will kill you. It is a giant physical damage hit that will put a debuff on you to make the next one hit even harder. Now, basically the rotation, if you want to kill this, the rotation should be Demon Spikes for the first one, Fiery Brand and Demon Spikes for the second one, Meta for the third, Last Resort for the fourth. I panicked, cast Fiery Brand to open up my Fire Demise window to do more damage on Cruel. This is what killed me right here. This is why I did not defeat it on this pull here. It's because I used Fiery Brand at this moment. Now, here you should be using your Bloodlust and your second potion. So Annihilate goes out, I get the debuff. Now he just cast Nether Stomp. Now I've died to this more than anything else. What you need to do is it slows you down drastically. You just need to get out of it as soon as you can. From my experience, it doesn't do a lot of damage, like 70k a second by standing in it. Is just combines with everything else. I didn't even mention this. The Arcane Ads put a debuff on you as well. It increases the magic damage you take. So I have 8 stacks right now, and I'm standing in the puddle. It's going to do a lot more damage. And now keep that in mind in phase 1, when you have a lot of stacks of the Arcane Ad debuff, the Inquisitor is going to hit you harder as well. So keep that in mind. His last ability that he's currently casting is Twisted Reflection. It is a heal. You must interrupt it. If you miss a single one, it is a wipe. He will heal for too much. So make sure you hit this interrupt. Now, I hit that orb, and I should have waited until he was out of the Nether Stomp. Nether Stomp. That way I can DPS him without taking damage. So at this point, what you want to do is you want to start chaining your orbs. You might want to wait till the second or third Annihilate to do that. Here's the second Annihilate. And this is where I screwed up. I should have Fiery Brand and Demon Spikes up. But I don't have either of them up. And it kills me. And there's my last resort. So keep cutting them in circles. And I hit an arcane orb or healing orb. Now, I should have waited until the ads were on me first. But, yeah. This is hectic and you start to panic. Here's the third Annihilate, which I lived through barely because I was already in meta. Twist Reflection interrupt. Keep DPSing. Velen staying around doing nothing. Throwing a Sigil of Misery, which I probably should have used more, and one shot. Through meta, by the way. Yeah, so that's the entire fight. I want to take note here. This entire time, Velen did 5 million damage. And Corvus, who you freed when Cruel came down, did 2 million damage. Like, why do they exist? Like, why are they even here? Velen giving you orbs, yeah, that's useful, but other than that, like, they don't do anything. They should do something. Yeah, and that's it. If I didn't use my fiery brand and had DS up for the second one, this was a kill. I would have won. Um, but yeah, so let's have a few last words here about how I feel about this. Alright, so that was the challenge mode. So what do I think about it? I hate it. When I heard about this challenge mode, I was excited. I'm not gonna lie to you, I was pretty excited. I expected a tanking challenge, and what this turned out to be is a DPS challenge. The more DPS you can do, easier this is. And survivability doesn't really matter as much because, you saw, if you die, it's from a one shot, a knockback, um, or a missed interrupt. Like, it doesn't matter if you have 20% versatility or 0% versatility. Like, you're just going to die. So this is not a survivability. This isn't a quote-unquote tanking challenge. So when I heard about this, I thought it would be something like back when Nightbane was new, I sold him from like 24% until I won. It was over. Like, all 4 people were dead, and I just kept going, and it was hard. That was fun. Like, I had to manage my cooldowns, my healing, my CC, my interrupts, and I had to keep cutting around to survive. Pop cooldowns for fear. Like, that's what I imagined, or like soloing like a tyrannical 14 before the keystone changes. Boss without a healer for like 30%. Like, that to me is a tanking challenge. You gotta use your CDs properly, you gotta self-sustain, you have to cut around, you have to interrupt, you have to do all this stuff. And yeah, that's what I saw or thought about when I heard about this. So when I actually did this, I hate it. And yeah, to me it's just not fun. Like, it being hard is fine. I like stuff being hard. I wanted this to be hard. Like, that's fun. But I'm playing the tank because I like to tank. And this is strictly a DPS mechanics fight. No, mechanics is important, but it's a DPS race. Like, if I had the 2 DPS legendaries, this would be easier. But right now, I'm running 37% crit, which is over double of what I normally run with in my raiding gear. So I dropped my best raiding legendaries, picked up crit gear for my Havoc set, the Kill Jadens just for damage, a BTI. So I'm using all of this just to do more damage for a tanking challenge. And yeah, I also think there's too many mechanics to watch all the time. Like, there's no ramp up. It's just, here's all the mechanics. Can you handle it? And the idea of that, it's not too bad. Like, okay, it's a lot of mechanics you have to watch. It's hard because of that. I'm okay with this. My biggest issue with this are the knockbacks. Every single thing displaces your character. And it doesn't matter how good you are, you're going to get knocked back. It's just going to happen. Because you have the eyeballs you have to watch all the time. You have your infernals that just keep stacking up. And then you have the beams in phase 2, and all this just keeps happening. And I don't know what it is, but knockbacks just make me want to rage out. Like, it messes everything. Even if it doesn't get you killed or doesn't mess anything up, it's just aggravating. I did the Havoc challenge mode a little earlier, just like 4 attempts, just to see how it was for comparison, and it was not remotely as aggravating. Like, it's hard. It's actually really hard. But it's not frustrating and irritating. Like, you're not constantly being knocked back. You're being thrown into crystals. You have to interrupt and jump over, interrupt, maintain damage while trying to heal yourself. Like, it's hard and it's fun. But this is just aggravating. They did a poor job. I do not like this. This should have been, like I said, this should have just been a straight up DPS should matter, but there should be a trade-off. There should be a balance. You shouldn't be going full DPS because survivability doesn't matter. There should be like a hybrid build for something like this, where you can try to maximize your damage while maintaining survivability because you need both. Alright, so I ran it on for way too long. If you liked the video, please like or subscribe. If you have any comments, questions, let me know. Otherwise, thanks for watching.